Welcome, guys. I appreciate you tuning in to the podcast. I'm going to be calling this the Joshua Schall Audio Experience because, quite honestly, I didn't have any idea really where this is going to go. So I figured a catch-all name worked best in this particular situation. But this is going to be a collection of new original content that's going to be very much exclusive to this audio experience, but also repurposed content, updated, edited, chopped content that you guys maybe will recognize. The original new kind of segments will start off with this idea that I'm calling Formula 4, which is an interview series with founders of functional food and beverage brands, also supplement companies, ones that you know, love, you guys have bought before, but it'll also include a bunch of other segments that I know you guys will enjoy. If you follow me on YouTube, you'll likely recognize some of the repurposed uploads, as my plan is to take some of those segments and repurpose them, specifically like the deep dish CPG, but there will be a lot of others. I'll kind of figure out which ones make sense to repurpose or not, because some of those do have a contemporary news element to it. Like, it wouldn't make sense for me to kind of relaunch it when you guys already know what's going on in that particular situation. Additionally, I'm going to be taking some clips of over the 200 or so YouTube videos that I've done so far, and another 50 that I've guest appeared on other channels, or maybe some audio only podcasts that is not on my YouTube channel. Chop them up to provide some common themes, be able to maybe create some updates to some of the storylines, a number of different things that I think I could do with all that content library that I have. So that's kind of the what around this whole Joshua Schall audio experience, just so you guys can get an understanding of kind of what that is going to be. But moving into kind of the why of launching this, obviously I have a ton of content already that I put out on a bunch of my social media and YouTube, but a lot of my community are professionals, and because of that, they're extremely busy, and they're trying to sneak in kind of continuous learning, valuable content wherever, whenever they can. And being that a lot of my content is either written or on video form, it's hard to consume that when you're doing other things. Maybe you're driving or whatever other things that you're doing when you want to have some maybe audio in the background. So I think this is going to be a really good addition to my kind of content creation as a whole. 10% of my content is visual on my YouTube, which are kind of vlogs. So those obviously will not be adapted into this like audio only format, because you would have no idea what is going on at all. And then another 10% of that content, the video content that I create, does have some charts and maybe static images. Difference on that is you could probably still get the point of that through your audio. And if you did want to watch it on YouTube, you definitely could do that. But the other 80% of it is just me talking. Nonverbals are great. Obviously, people enjoy when I get excited and maybe my hands start to move at 1,000 miles an hour. But audio might be a better communication medium for my audience, specifically for most of the content that I create. What I'll say is this is not going to replace my YouTube channel and other social media. It's just going to be a complement. And I'll actually have all original podcast content. Hi guys, I'm actually filming this on YouTube as well in video format for those that still want to see my smiling face. Moving into kind of the when these uploads are going to be, because of the varied nature of this audio experience, the uploads are likely going to be erratic. I'll just be straight up with you guys. The goal is to have several updates weekly that can range from maybe quick hitter type of 10-minute or less pieces up to like the deep dives, interviews that could last up to an hour. So you have a bunch of different content to consume each week. But the lesson here is to make sure that you are subscribing to this podcast channel, be that on your smartphone, be that on your computer, kind of however you listen to these podcasts. I would appreciate if you guys did subscribe, because as these episodes launch, they'll just download straight up right to you guys. So you will have those in your feed to listen to when you're ready to hear my smooth, soothing voice. And then if you've gotten this far, you've listened to me this far and you have no idea who I am already, please reach out to me because I would like to thank you because you just found this randomly and that is awesome. But wanted to give you a quick and dirty on who Joshua Schall is because you've listened to me and you're wondering who is the Joshua Schall behind the Joshua Schall Audio Experience. Well, I'm a Rust Belt born and raised kid from Youngstown, Ohio. Know anything about Youngstown? Was a old steel town, was arguably one of the epicenters of the economy for a long period of time. Steel production moved over to China in the 70s, and the city has not really ever been able to come back to life to the level it was before. I grew up a typical active kid, sports, all the normal kind of things. I was a son of a local entrepreneur father that kind of gave me my initial taste into being an entrepreneur. I've kind of always been an entrepreneur by heart. I think you can learn being an entrepreneur, but a lot of it comes, you inherit it. It's in you from the start. I was one of those kids that had a bunch of lemonade stands. When it snowed in Ohio, I was the first one out there shoveling driveways for everybody to make a little extra money. I was trading baseball cards, sports cards to try to make money. A number of other kind of businesses I started over the years, maybe even like downloading free music and creating CDs for the kids that maybe didn't have a rewritable CD drive. So I was doing all kinds of things at a long period of time. I spent my youth in Youngstown, Ohio. I moved an hour away for my college years at Kent State University. Go Golden Flashes, if anybody is one as well. I got my undergraduate degree in accounting from Kent State. I also stayed another 2 years and got my MBA there with a focus in international finance. Loved Kent State. Though it was only an hour away from Youngstown, Ohio, it felt like a world of difference. I left college in 2009, which, if you guys know anything about that period, it's obviously the Great Recession, and it was not the best point in Americans' history to want to acquire a job as a young man. I actually moved 2,000 miles away to Las Vegas, Nevada, which was arguably one of the worst hit areas during the Great Recession. Maybe even worse than where I came from in Youngstown, Ohio. Maybe I should have stuck around in Youngstown, Ohio. But I took a big amount of risk. I moved. I didn't have any savings. College debt was definitely a thing for me. No job prospects, and probably only about 2 or 3 people I knew west of the Mississippi. I worked hard in jobs for those first 2 years, but I didn't feel fulfilled, but needed the money, experience. During those first few years when I was living in Las Vegas, and I actually moved up to Reno, Lake Tahoe area of Nevada. When I was in Reno, my life was starting to kind of come together. I actually got offered a job at a startup within my passion of consumer packaged goods and functional consumer packaged goods. So this was a sports nutrition brand called Muscle Farm. I had to take the job in Denver, so I moved from Reno to Denver. I had never been to Denver in my whole entire life other than the one trip I took for the interview. But that was a position that kind of changed everything for me because it gave me 18 months of intense experience. It was really a crash course in business. It was a hyper-growth startup. There was a 400% plus year-over-year growth in that startup, and there wasn't a lot of bodies. So me being a hungry young professional that was looking to make a name for myself in an industry, I grabbed anything possible. I grabbed way more than I could have handled ever in my life, but I worked 100-hour weeks, and I loved every second of it. But after 18 months, I decided that there was greener pastures out there, and I decided to jump into being a consultant. I opened my own consulting firm, J. Schall Consulting. That was about 7-ish or so years ago, and I honestly have not looked back since. I have really enjoyed the challenges that consulting and client services has presented me. And I've been able to work with some of the fastest moving brands in the supplement industry, the food industry, and the beverage industry, along with some other ones. And I definitely do some work that's outside of just the brand side. But I've been lucky enough to work with a ton of really talented entrepreneurs and leadership teams and really create a lot of really cool shit. Honestly, it's been a great ride for me. I took immense risks to get to this point, but I've always been one of those people where I've kept my head down, I've worked hard, and always focused on giving value in my professional relationships. I present a lot of content to everybody for free. These are hours that I could be spending relaxing and doing a number of other things, but I really appreciate giving back value to an industry that has given me so much. So this is just another extension of that content. And while some might consider me a industry expert now, I kind of cringe at that when anybody calls me that. I don't really listen to it at all because I don't have anything more figured out than the next person. I know how to work extremely hard and make sound decisions, being that I do a lot of strategy work in my day-to-day. So I think probably a lot differently than most people, but even the best strategy sometimes doesn't work out right and it goes south. And I've learned over time that you can turn those kind of bad situations into learning experiences, and they are more valuable than when you are making great sound decisions a lot of times. But I just want to kind of finish off this first initial episode by just kind of giving you my hopes and dreams with this podcast. Is one, I will always respect your time and attention that you give me. I understand that is your most valuable asset, and I'm not going to take that lightly. So I'm going to make sure that I create insightful content for you always that gives you value in return for that time and attention that you give me. And finally, I think this is a big one. Maybe you guys will enjoy it, maybe you won't, but I will not try to prove that I'm right and anyone else that thinks differently than me is wrong. But I just want to thank you guys for listening to my first kind of official podcast. I hope you will let me humbly serve you with more information in the future. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to help support me, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button on this video. If this is the first time you've been introduced to my videos, would love for you guys to be a part of my community by subscribing to my channel. I upload several videos just like this weekly. And if you guys want to connect further outside of this platform, I do include all of my social media links down below. I just want to thank you guys again for your time. Hopefully I gave you some value in return, and we'll see you guys on the next video.